So good morning.
Good morning.
Paradise awaits. Our theme this month is inspired by a statement written by the Sufi mystic and poet Hafez. As a reminder, it goes like this, because we have some who have not been here for a couple of weeks. You're invited to meet the divine, meaning you are being called to express more of God as you. You are constantly being invited in a higher, freer, fully expanded version of life, living itself as you. The invitation shows up in your life as either the inner urging for more expression or as discontent, dissatisfaction with where you are right now. Something's got to urge us to move, right? You're invited to meet the divine. No one can resist the divine invitation, meaning either your inner urging or more expression or your discontent, dissatisfaction with where you are now will have its way with you. That's just the way it is. You can't stop it. You can't resist it. You're invited to meet the divine. No one can resist the divine invitation. That narrows down all of our choices to just two. You can come to the divine dressed for dancing, meaning you can show up fully ready and prepared to do whatever it takes to answer the call of the desire or discontent. You're invited to meet the divine. No one can resist a divine invitation. That narrows down our choices to just two. You can come to the divine dressed for dancing or be carried on a stretcher to God's ward, meaning you can resist the call of the desire or get mired down in the discontent and agree to a life of struggle. Who wants to agree to that? I sure don't. No. So we have all pretty much agreed that we prefer to accept the divine invitation, dress for dancing, or said another way, we prefer to consciously, actively, deliberately, purposefully, and intentionally answer the call of either the desire or discontent to the fullest, freest, most expanded expression, the divine that we can be. Last week, we explored moving from our paradigms to paradise in a very powerful way. Today, we continue our exploration into a paradigm that seems to haunt most every human being and which lays us out in the stretcher every single time. If you're ready to get off that stretcher and put on your dancing shoes, then today is the day that paradise awaits. So, everybody ready to do that? Everybody ready to put on their dancing shoes? Okay, well, let's go. All right. Here's a little story. 8 longtime golfing buddies. They were going out on the fairway to play golf, right? Their regular golfing outing. And as it was customary, they break up into foursomes. You know, foursomes play, so they have 2 foursomes. And the first 4 men play the 18 holes, and then they sit in the clubhouse, and they're waiting for the other 4 to come in behind them. And it seems like they wait an extraordinary amount of time. Finally, here come 3 men from the second foursome. These men are total wrecks. They are red in the face, they are out of breath, and they are sweating profusely. They are obviously in great distress. A member of the first foursome says to Jim, a member of the second foursome, "Jim, old buddy, what in the world happened to you guys?" And Jim, gasping for air, responded, "Oh, it was just awful. On the second hole, Harry had a heart attack. After that, it was hit the ball, drag Harry. Hit the ball, drag Harry. Hit the ball, drag Harry." Okay, I know that's a really old joke. You've probably heard that before, and it really does not get any better with age. So, I just want you to know it is a very descriptive story of how we often go through the process of responding to the divine invitation. Many of us, even today, are dragging Harry. And if you think dragging Harry is not conducive to playing golf, well, it's not conducive to getting dressed for dancing to respond to the divine invitation either. So, who, or more actually, what is our Harry? What is it we're dragging? What are we dragging around that is going to put us on the stretcher? Harry is a fundamental belief that many, get the point, many of us carry around. I think all of us have our own little Harry that we drag with us. It's the fundamental belief that there is something inherently wrong with us. It's a fundamental belief that somewhere, some little thing is inherently wrong. Harry is the notion that we are unworthy or undeserving or incapable of creating anything wonderful in our lives. That's our Harry. Some of us have left Harry behind already, but some of us may pick him up now and then. And that's what we drag around. Now, if you started with us on the first Sunday of the month and are actively engaged in the process of answering the divine invitation, you have already made significant internal shifts and you are on a roll. But if you have a paradigm that affects your perception of yourself, if you do not deeply believe that you deserve to live a higher, freer, fully expanded version of life, if you do not believe that you are worthy and capable of the dream, then it's never going to become a reality in your life, because we have to have that belief first. Paradise awaits. Paradise beckons, but you won't get there, because even as you dream, as the dream that you have begins to take shape unconsciously, we find ways of sabotaging it. We've all had those experiences where we get right up to whatever it is we desire, and then, oh my gosh, something happens and it just blows up. It seems that we've been trained to believe that we are unworthy. Well, we do get those messages. We get the messages out there sometimes that, you know, you have to look a certain way, or you have to do a certain thing, or you have to belong to a certain club, or whatever, to be worthy. Regardless of our religious upbringing, some version of original sin kind of seeps in to our being, because it is a message that's out there. We operate out of a belief that there's something fundamentally wrong with us, and thus we do not deserve what we deeply desire. Or we think that everybody else has to have what they deeply deserve first, and then we can have what we desire. We put all these rules on ourselves. And that belief is like a negative magnet that's pushing away any good that we might be attracting into our lives. For instance, we might dream to experience a loving relationship. And in fact, we may become involved in a very deep and wonderful and fulfilling relationship. We believe that those we love, that if those we love grow too close, they will discover something that we don't want them to see, that maybe there isn't something so good about us. They might find out something. Similarly, we fail to fully express our talent. Taking risks in a career makes us vulnerable to error, and we fear that stumbling will expose us as phonies. Despite what anybody says, we know the truth. We're basically bad, and no one must discover our ugly secret. We become so careful, so fearful of making a mistake that we remain on a very short leash, never venturing into a realm of our greater life, our higher aspirations, the divine invitation, and answering that divine invitation. Like the story that Rich told, we cling. We cling to the bottom because we don't know that there's something greater that's waiting for us. Or the ones that were on the bottom and saw the one that went by and thought, wow, that's great, there's the Savior, but I'm not going to let go and do that too. They see it, but it's like, oh, I don't think I'm deserving of that. How about the contrasting theology of original sin with the theology of that we have in New Thought, which is of original innocence? The former says that we err because we are inherently bad, while the latter says that we make mistakes out of ignorance. We are ignorant. Get this, we're ignorant of the truth of ourselves. We forget who we are, of God, and of one another. We're ignorant of the truth that we are made in the image and likeness of the divine Almighty, and we are endowed with the power of creation through our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. We are ignorant of the power of our choices and the power that results from the choice that we have to create whatever it is we desire in our lives. We are ignorant of the connection to one another. We are all connected. We are all one. What is good for one of us is good for all of us. We are ignorant of that. We forget. We forget. And I think we learn it and then we forget again. When we do that, it is not life-affirming. And it's a result of our ignorance. It is not life-affirming, and it's just a result because we forgot. But it's not proof of some dark, unworthy being is residing at our core. This does not mean that we always do good things. We may flounder, we may offend, and we may fall off track. I do that often. It happens. It does mean, however, that we are inherently good, each and every one of us. How does that feel when you think the entire world, that every person in this entire world is inherently good? feels so much better to think of the world as being good, doesn't it, than not good, or that some are bad, or I just love to think of everyone as being inherently good. And of course, the old Dennis the Menace joke, you've all seen that, where Dennis says, God, don't make no junk. That's true. How could that be possible? St. Francis of Assisi, of course, he wrote the profoundly beautiful prayer, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. He was an Italian Roman Catholic monk living in the 13th century, and he founded the Franciscan order and was canonized in 1228. What you may not know is that he was not always saintly. In fact, he had grown up a very wealthy, and he grew up, lived in a very privileged, indulgent life. Well, however wild and rich and indulgent you could be in the 13th century, It's like, how would you do that without cell phones? I don't know. Anyway. Or bars on every corner. Well, maybe they had taverns. I'm not sure. Anyway, he was once asked by one of his companions, why you, Francis? Why you? Why did God choose you as a lighthouse to bless the world? And St. Francis smiled and replied, why me? I'll tell you why. Because there could hardly be anyone who has made as many mistakes as I have. I have done and been everything you can think of that is abhorrent and unholy. I had absolutely nothing to offer the world, and that is precisely why God chose to glorify me, to give hope to people who feel they have nothing to give. For if the Holy Spirit can work through me, it can work through anyone. In the internal dimension, each of us, in the internal, the unseen, that dimension, each of us is whole and complete and perfect. Power springs from that place where we locate our divine dimension, where we connect. We can find that place in ourselves, or we can miss seeing it entirely. In order to answer the divine invitation, you must realize that you are worthy. You must remember who you are. So how do we know if we're worthy? Do you want to know how you can know that you're worthy? So here's the question. Here's the test question. Are you breathing? Mm-hmm. Okay. The answer is yes. You are worthy. Holmes, in The Philosophy of Jesus for the World Today, wrote, we must come to believe that the Father does dwell within us, and that this creative spirit which is back of all things also flows through us. God has need of us, or he would not have put us here. The divine wishes to express through us, or we would have no existence. As a matter of fact, we really have no existence of ourselves alone. It is only because we live in God that we live at all. If we think of ourselves as rooted in God and expect divine power to flow through us, every thought we have and every act will be animated by the same life and power and beauty that clothes the lily of the field. Let us see what would happen to us if we should include ourselves in God's creation. Right at the start, we would learn to have a little better opinion of ourselves. I'm not talking about an arrogant or conceited opinion, for we already have learned that we can do nothing of ourselves. We live because we are drawing on the invisible source of all life. So there's a very big difference there between the arrogant, conceited, egotistical, narcissistic, wow, how great I am, to the, no, I am worthy because I allow God to express in, as, and through me. Think about a tree. Suppose every time a tree had an urge to put forth a new branch, it said, I don't think I'm worthy of doing this. I'm not sure I'm good enough to have more than just a certain number of branches. Let us suppose that this tree is bemoaning its fate because it would really love to have more branches, but it just doesn't think it's worthy of being so lavishly adorned. And every time the tree says, I don't think I deserve any more branches, it blocks off the possibility of drawing its life from the soil. If this should happen, then the tree never would make any more branches, and it would begin to die from that very moment, because we know if we're not growing, we're dying. We have to continue to grow. But if the tree does not do this, and it does, all it does is depend on nature. All it knows to do is to grow. So it never short-circuits the divine energy that gives it life. I've got a little bug right here. But we got to take care of those. But we are people, and we can and do short-circuit the divine energy that should be flowing through us. The funny part is that we short-circuit it when we deny that it is there. We short-circuit it when we live from a paradigm that we are unworthy, incapable, or undeserving. So I pose to you this morning that you can learn to feel worthy, you can learn to feel valuable, you can learn to feel deserving, simply by beginning to understand and really accept the truth, with a capital T, the truth of your being. The way to amplify your feelings of deserving is to remind yourself daily, hourly, minutely, if necessary, of your true identity. If you recognize yourself as a living image of God, how much more would you believe that you deserve? This is an important point, a gem for today. You cannot be any more deserving than you are right in this moment. There's nothing you need to do. You cannot be, but you can feel. You can feel way more deserving. So you're already there in the being department. You just have to bring that feeling into place. As a way to train your mind in that realm of thinking, take a hint from a little boy who was overheard talking to himself as he strode through his backyard with his baseball cap and plates and his bat and his ball, right? And he was saying, "I am the greatest baseball player in the world." He said that very proudly. Then he tossed the ball in the air and he swung and he missed. Whew. So he picked up the ball and he said, "I am the greatest baseball player in the world." And he threw the ball up and he swung and he missed again. And he paused for a moment to examine the bat and the ball very carefully. And then once again he threw the ball into the air and he said with great conviction, "I am the greatest baseball player who ever lived." And he swung the bat really hard, and again he missed the ball. And he said, "Wow, what a great pitcher." Wow. He believed in his own worth, even when he literally missed what he set out to achieve. Because sometimes we're going in a direction like we're going to accomplish this, but something else happens that's equally or even better. And how many times do we discount that and say, that wasn't what I was going for, but it was even better. We have to be open to those gifts as they come to us. This little boy, he perceived his inability to connect with a baseball not as evidence that he was a lousy ball player, inherently bad, but rather as an opportunity to discover a greater talent within himself. Every step takes us closer to that greatest expression of who we are. Remember last week we discussed how to change a paradigm. Constant repetition of a new thought supported by a new environment. Begin to think anew about yourself constantly and repetitively. Realizing who you are and your inherent worth, ability, and deservability cannot be skipped in the process of living your higher calling. Many people have launched dreams without first developing a sense of worthiness. Even when they finally attract into their experience a desired dream, they manage to sabotage it before long. Their dream was not built on a solid foundation of divine deserving. And so this morning, I invite you to remember and to embrace the words of New Thought father, Ralph Waldo Emerson. And he said, "There is no planet, sun, or star could hold you if you but knew what you are." So I want to say that slightly revised. So let's say this all together. There is no planet, sun, or star that can hold me because I know who I am. Okay, it doesn't rhyme, but that's what I want you to memorize. That's what I want you to say. There is no planet, sun, or star that can hold me because I know who I am. So say that constantly. Say that repetitively. And whenever you catch yourself dragging Harry, remind yourself who and what you are. You are a divine expression of God. You are worthy. You are capable. You are gifted. And you deserve to experience paradise right here, right now, right here on earth. And so it is.